It all started with a simple moment, just a casual comment. Someone suggested a name for their song, and he replied with quiet confidence, Heart of Glass. We'll say Heart of Glass. They didn't know at the time, but a movie by that name already existed. Still, the name stuck. Debbie Harry once wore tight leather pants and a see-through shirt on national TV, at a time when women were expected to be modest, not even showing their knees. Men were drawn to her. Women admired her and wanted to be like her. But behind the striking blonde hair and edgy attitude, she carried a secret few knew. Now, at 79 years old, Debbie Harry is showing her true self to the world. Once a punk icon and a former Playboy bunny, her look has changed drastically over the years, some say because of plastic surgery. People barely recognize her now. Her journey from fame to hardship is full of surprises, and parts of it are heartbreaking. Debbie Harry wasn't born in the spotlight. She was born Angela Trimble in Miami in 1945, the result of an affair that was never talked about. Her birth mother, a concert pianist, gave her up after just 3 months. A traditional couple in New Jersey adopted her and named her Deborah and Harry. They had no idea the little girl they took home would grow up to become one of the most unforgettable voices in punk rock. Even as a child, Debbie felt different, caught between where she came from and where she was supposed to fit in. When she tried to reconnect with her birth mother years later, the woman wasn't interested. Her biological father had already passed away, so Debbie quietly closed that chapter. Still, it left a mark on her. She grew up in a neat, conservative town in New Jersey. Everything looked perfect on the outside, but Debbie felt wild inside. She would sneak into the coal bin just to get dirty and wander into the woods because it made her feel scared, alive. She joined the Girl Scouts and sang in the church choir, but inside, she was dreaming of black clothes, city lights, and an artistic life. By the age of 14, she was bleaching her hair to look like Marilyn Monroe. Another famous woman she later found out was also abandoned as a child. Even though her classmates voted her best looking, Debbie didn't believe it. She hated looking in the mirror. She saw someone who didn't belong. When she was 4, her adoptive parents told her she was adopted. They said it like it was something special, but to Debbie, it felt like a warning, like she was always going to be different. That idea stuck with her. She feared being left behind. That fear never fully went away. But at the same time, being adopted gave her a kind of freedom. It made her curious about the world, willing to take chances. Debbie faced trauma early on. When she was just 8, a man exposed himself to her. It didn't happen just once, it kept happening. In her early teens, she thought jazz drummer Buddy Rich followed her home. When she got older, the danger became even more real. In her 20s, a man broke into the apartment she shared with her boyfriend, Chris Stein. He tied Chris up and assaulted Debbie at knife point. Debbie later said losing their guitars hurt more than the attack. Another boyfriend once held a gun to her head out of jealousy. That terrifying experience inspired the song, One Way or Another. Even when fame came, danger followed. She had stalkers, obsessive fans and controlling partners. It never stopped. But before all that, she worked her way up in New York City. She was a secretary, a dancer, a Playboy bunny, and a waitress at the famous Max's Kansas City, a spot where musicians and artists gathered. She served burgers to legends like Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix. Her big break came when she met guitarist Chris Stein while performing in a band called the Stilettos. They left that group and formed their own, first calling it Angel and the Snake, then changing it to Blondie after truck drivers kept shouting, "Hey Blondie," at Debbie on the street. Blondie became a regular at CBGB, New York's punk rock hotspot. Debbie was electric on stage. She wore schoolgirl outfits and had a fierce presence. Her voice was sweet but full of bite. The club was disgusting. It smelled like vomit and rot, but it was where Blondie truly came alive. Debbie wasn't just the lead singer. She created a whole persona. She was tough, sexy, and unapologetic. When the record label tried to cut the rest of the band out of a photo and focus only on her body, she was furious. She wanted power, not to be objectified. Chris Stein wasn't just her musical partner. He was her boyfriend and collaborator. Even after they broke up, they kept working together. Blondie became more than just a band. It was a movement. But fame brought confusion. People started calling Debbie Blondie, as if she was the band. The group tried to fight it, printing shirts that said, "Blondie is a group." It didn't help. Debbie eventually accepted it, joking that she felt like Dirty Harry, a character the world misunderstood. In 1979, Blondie released Heart of Glass. It shocked the music world. A punk band doing disco? It was bold. The song, which started as a rough demo called The Disco Song, became a polished masterpiece. It combined electronic beats with Debbie's haunting voice. Some fans felt betrayed, even their drummer didn't want to play it live. But it hit #1 in the US and UK and became a classic. Blondie didn't stop at one style. They did rock, disco, reggae, even rap. In 1981, their song Rapture became the first rap-inspired track to hit #1 in America. Debbie name-dropped hip-hop pioneers like Fab 5 Freddy and Grandmaster Flash. The music video featured breakdancing, graffiti, and a young artist named Basquiat. It was also the first rap video played on MTV. Debbie's fashion sense was just as influential. She wore dramatic makeup, ripped prom dresses, fishnet sleeves. She styled herself, never letting anyone else define her look. She mixed glam with rebellion, showing the world what confidence looked like. Artists like Lady Gaga and Miley Cyrus have followed in her footsteps. Debbie also explored acting. In the 1983 film Videodrome, she played a mysterious, troubled woman drawn to violence and desire. She changed her look and surprised critics with her performance. Later, she played a villain in Hairspray, a racist theme park owner trying to stop integration. It was a wild change from her rock persona, but she pulled it off. She turned down a major role in Blade Runner, one she later regretted. At the time, she was focused on her music and caring for Chris Stein, who was sick. Her first solo album Cuckoo, released in 1981, featured a shocking cover by artist H.R. Geiger, showing Debbie with huge metal needles in her face. Some stores wouldn't even display it. By the late 80s, she wanted to be seen as Deborah, not Debbie, and definitely not Blondie. Her third solo album Deaf, Dumb and Blonde was credited to her full name and marked a shift. She wanted people to see her, not just the punk image she had created. Though the album did well in the UK and Australia, it flopped in the US due to poor promotion. Still, critics praised it and her return to working with Chris Stein and producer Mike Chapman. In the mid-90s, Debbie took another bold step. She joined an experimental jazz group called the Jazz Passengers. She shocked critics with her powerful voice and emotional performances. What started as a guest spot became a 4-year collaboration. It proved she was more than just a punk singer. Her life could have ended before all of this. In the early 1970s, she almost became a victim of serial killer Ted Bundy. One night in New York, a man in a small white car offered her a ride. The car was stripped inside, no handles, no way to get out. She sensed danger, found a tiny gap in the window, and managed to escape. Years later, when she saw Bundy's photo on TV, she recognized him instantly. She also survived multiple stalkers and abusive relationships. One boyfriend held a gun to her head. Others followed her or sent disturbing letters. Debbie used her trauma as fuel for her music. Songs like One Way or Another were her way of turning pain into power. In her memoir Face It, she opened up about how fame, adoption, and repeated trauma left her with deep emotional scars. She never fully lost the fear of being abandoned. Even during the wildest times, like when David Bowie once flashed her backstage after doing cocaine together, Debbie kept her cool. She didn't think it was weird. It was just life in the chaotic world of rock and roll. She admired Bowie, and in that strange moment, she felt part of something unique. Behind the iconic image, Debbie Harry carried a lifetime of pain, courage, and transformation. Her story is more than music or style. It's about survival, self-discovery, and rising through darkness again and again.